Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the High Vibration Podcast. I'm your host, Sara, and today's episode is part 2 to Chase Von Ach's story. So if you haven't seen that one yet, go on ahead and check out the video before this one to get the first part of this story and enjoy this episode.
They had given me permission to sleep in, and then the next morning, there was a girl that I didn't like who I'd had a problem with. So they told her to go wake me up. Like just to fuck with me. And she wouldn't leave, and I was so angry and upset. And I said, my IC in charge gave me permission to do this. Why are you waking me up? And they kept sending people in there to come and harass me and wake me up, even though they had given me permission. So I said, I was it was crossing the line for me. So I said, if you come back here to a little girl, if you come back here and say this to me again, I'm gonna knock the shit out of you. If the next person who wakes me up, there's gonna be a big problem. And if the EPFIC is the one who's sending you guys over here, tell him to come and talk to me himself and we can work it out. And I'm probably gonna break his arms. No one ever came back.
Yeah, I that makes sense. That
But
is,
but I was really serious about that
well, you've been
because
sleep deprived for like, what do you say, 4 or 5 days? Okay.
yeah, I was really serious about that. If that guy had come in there, maybe I would I'd be in jail today.
Well, it's a good thing that didn't happen. So,
Yeah, and I was close to hurting these kids. I never did, but they told me to, and I was almost pushed to doing that.
well, I mean, it's the environment you grew up in, where things like how would you know differently?
All of this was so stressful to me. And I felt so betrayed because this isn't how, like, this wasn't the organization that I'd signed up for. I signed up for this because I really wanted to help make the planet a better place for other people. I wanted to help humanity achieve better goals, and I wanted a planet and civilization without war and poverty. I mean, those are the reasons why I wanted to do that. And the net result was I completely lost my mind. I went completely crazy. And I've definitely struggled with my share of mental health issues since then. They broke my mind.
Yeah.
And I expressed wanting to leave many times, and they wouldn't physically let me leave. And I even considered like just literally just walking out the door, getting into a car and driving off. Should have. But I didn't, and I lost my mind, and I had a complete psychotic break from reality. So there is a limit.
Yeah.
I went past that limit. And so, you know, that's on them. That is on them. And I'm sure that they're not going to get away with treating people like that for very much longer.
Yeah. Mm.
I would say my bullshit detector is otherworldly.
Yeah.
In my life today, I don't tolerate anything in my life that's, trying to pull the wool over my eyes, so to speak.
Well, it's like you went to hell and back at such a young age, and you grew up with so much pressure and things being presented in a way that's very different to everybody else. And so you've had to navigate quite a bit more, which, lends itself to your resiliency today with everything else going on and being almost like unaffected by it. And it's like, how do you just
Yeah.
move through everything with grace and in really difficult situations? And you're just like, well, how I was raised.
Yeah.
I've had to go through hell and back. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alex Henold, he's the famous mountain climber guy.
Mm.
He's talking about the reason why people are afraid all the time is because they haven't actually experienced something that has really put their life in danger. This guy's climbing the Yosemite wall faces with no ropes.
Oh, it's that guy? Oh boy.
Yeah. So if he makes one error, he dies. Um,
Cannot imagine that that lifestyle.
and
No.
and there's a lot of people, people have been in military operations and things of that nature that once they've really seen something crazy, the rest of life is silly, compared, like, no one's shooting at you with machine guns, so it's
It's
probably going to be fine.
gonna be okay. Yeah, you
You
push the
can figure
limits.
there's something you have control of in your environment that you can use to make a difference and improve your life right now. So
Yeah, you're not in a
you
life and death situation. So it's
you
good.
didn't just get shot.
Yeah. So people who've been pushed to the limit
Yeah.
have a much better understanding on how to deal with things unless it breaks them and then you have to find your way back and then you are slightly damaged, but you also have that resiliency with the damage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So how did you navigate
I've never told anyone that story, by the way.
really the whole thing?
Never.
Wow. Well, I'm honored that you share with me and everybody who's watching this. I mean, it's rough. Like, what are you supposed to do? And then not judging yourself afterwards. Like when you
Yeah.
finally can pick up the pieces of your sanity and put it back together, like how do you forgive yourself for what had to go down because of the environment that you're in? I feel like
There
you're
was
pretty
a
good at
there
that.
was a lot of years of shame and regret that I had because when I realized how much I had been fooled by the concepts in Scientology, when I realized how much of it was not true, unscientific, I felt so ashamed for having been so foolish to really believe these things.
But you also like were raised in it. So like
Yeah.
how would you know any differently?
You wouldn't.
And
Most kids who are raised Scientology will always be a Scientologist for the rest of their life.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
I, I I'm lucky in that regard, I guess.
resiliency. And circling back to what you were saying at the beginning of this, how in order to become, successful in whatever it is you want to do in life, you have to face the cold truth of reality. You have to be able to take accountability and see things as they are. You had like a crash course in that at a very young age, which is probably why now you're like, yeah, whatever it is, just face it head on because you
Yeah.
had to do that for a long time with things that, nobody should have to deal with, make sense of.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Mm. But I feel like with knowing that information, you've come like a long way from that and to be so positive and like I said, optimistic, but not delusional optimistic about that, like that's incredible.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's been a long journey.
Yeah, you got to write a book someday. You got to have a an autobiography. Um,
Maybe one day.
I think you should, and so we have something to do with pirates as well. Like that's the theme.
I've
Uh,
always been a sailor and a smuggler.
well, it's funny because you mentioned like your most furthest back memory of the rainbows. Even that has to do with gold and finding gold at the end of the rainbow. And I was like, that ties in. That checks out.
Yeah, it does.
Like, gotta find the treasure. Even at like 2 years old, I gotta find the treasure at the end of the rainbow. Yeah.
Yeah, that all started when I was a toddler. I was walking around the park in front of my house. There was a tennis court. On the side of the tennis court, I found a drummer quarter. Seen those? There's like a cowboy on it playing the
Oh yeah,
drums.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So I found one of those. I asked my dad what it was, and he explained it to me, and that they were more rare than regular quarters. So 1 or 2 years old, I became obsessed with the idea that you could find something that was more valuable than its face value.
Hmm.
So from a child's mind, from a child's age and mind, I was always very interested in finding hidden value. I do the same thing with businesses today. I
Yeah. I was gonna say,
find
I see the connection there.
I find businesses that are undervalued. And I've been pretty good at that.
That's pretty cool. That's a really cool skill. And that's something you've had innately since you were a kid. So that's part of your superpowers.
Yeah,
Um,
no doubt.
so so when did you walk away? Like, I know you ended up in Portland and there was a
Yeah.
whole journey to that. Like what is the point A to point B of that journey?
Well, in my mind, living in Portland was actually before that happened.
Oh, okay.
Um, I was like 16 when I was in Portland. So
Okay.
so I actually moved to Florida to join Scientology when I was 17, or yeah, when I was 17. I had just recently turned 17, so I joined Scientology after that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, or the Sea Org. But when I was uh 19, I I realized that what had helped me with my mental illnesses, with my mental health, what helped me the most was learning about the different areas of the brain, and then like psychology based theory, like attachment theory, and building a strong personal base, or emotional base as they call it. And then exercises which applied those principles. For instance, if you pat the top of your head and rub your belly in a circle, those types of exercises, there's actually significant reasons why they're helpful. The area of your brain that's used the most to do those types of exercises are prefrontal is your prefrontal cortex. You cannot do those types of exercises without relying on neurons that are there. Um, so those types of exercises in psychology-based theory are what allowed me to sort of dig myself out of my mental health issues.
Mhm.
And Scientology vilifies, you know, anything that deviates from the person being a spiritual being and it having nothing to do with their brain chemistry or chemicals or anything like that. Scientology says is inherently evil. So there was a disconnect there for me. I was like, well, this is what's actually helped me. Scientology has abandoned me in my darkest times. But like these science-based, scientific psychology principles are actually helping me get better. That's sort of like when I was like, yeah, I'm out. But it's still a 10-year long journey, you know, from because you have an entire lifetime of brainwashing, which you kind of have to figure out.
Have to deprogram yourself.
Deprogramming. Yeah.
Did you have any kind of support system to help you with that? Like any friends or any therapists, like in that journey of like clearing this, you know?
Yeah, I've probably had 5 different therapists over 14 years.
And they were good?
Some were better than others.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah. I
that's good.
think they were all helpful.
Hmm.
Um, I think the less opinions a psychologist keeps out of their relationship with their client, the better. Like, the more a space can be judgment free, I think the more helpful it would be for someone.
The process and the talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah, there's, you know, so I've 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 parted ways with some counselors because I felt their opinions were too much involved in the process.
Yeah.
Like if somebody's going, like for example, like if somebody were going through like some kind of LGBTQ issues and the psychologists were sexist or or into like toxic masculinity kind of traits, like probably not the best match, right?
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't want to, as a psychologist, you wouldn't want to you know, make someone feel bad for because they were a girl who liked girls.
Yeah. Somebody whose opinions clearly don't align with what you're talking about.
Or what you're going through, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's like a good example. Um, so I think like psychology, if you're a psychologist out there, just try to hold a completely non-judgmental space for your clients.
Yeah. Keeping your opinions out of it for sure.
Yeah.
And also being able, I feel like, for them to speak up if they know that they can't hold a space. To be able to, what?
It's real similar to when we say, "Hey, how are you doing?" You just say, "Hi, I'm good." Well, there's some pressure there to be good because you don't want to have the person who's gonna reject your honesty. So, holding space for people to communicate openly and freely without judgment, it's not just important for psychologists to be that way, but it's important for all of us to be that way for the betterment of our communities.
Yeah, I think a more authentic and transparent communication style adopted by everybody would equal world peace. So I like,
It would certainly help.
yeah, I think about like if like you're like a pageant queen and they give you the microphone and they're like, if you could do one thing for the world, what would it be? And it's like for everybody to have clear and transparent communication while also understanding and working through their emotions in a healthy manner. We would then have world peace. Like that is the solution. That is the solution. If we can all work through our emotions, talk about them, and be open about it, there would be no war, in my opinion.
Imagine that.
Like, what's it gonna take? What's it gonna take to get to that point? You know?
Yeah.
Well, it takes conversations like this where people can share and be transparent and vulnerable, knowing that it's a strength and not a weakness, and that it eliminates the stigma of shame to be able to speak it and be like, this has no control over me, and I have no shame to this. And even if you do, it's like speaking it releases it. That's real power, I think. So,
Yeah.
so kudos to you for sharing all of that.
Thank you.
Not easy. And you did it without the tequila. So,
No whiskey or tequila needed.
no whiskey or tequila. The chamomile might help a little bit though. Like
It definitely does.
calm me down. Um,
Helps me chill out.
so to patch in the A to the B of the story, once you got out, like what did that look like for you? Because I know bits and pieces of that, where you're like I said, selling sheets on the side of a road, just trying to make it work, trying to figure it out. And I
No,
think
no,
that
no, 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 no. The selling the
no.
sheets on the side of the road was one of my favorite parts.
Okay, well, please let's talk about it because I feel like to have that example and then to see where you are now, it's like a beautiful transition of how you never know where life's gonna take you.
Yeah, definitely don't hate on the sheets.
Yeah.
Look, I made a lot of money selling sheets on the side of the road. It sounds so obscure.
Wait, where was this? Was this in Portland?
No, no, no. This is all over the United
So
States.
you just cruising around the United States being like popping open your trunk and being like, look at my wares.
Hey!
Want some sheets?
Yep,
Were they
that's
good
right.
sheets?
No,
No, they weren't good sheets. Amazing.
not terrible. But people bought them in mass
Why?
because it's a good deal.
How much were you selling the sheets for?
$20.
20 bucks? Like, yeah, you want some sheets?
Yep,
Come to my car.
absolutely.
How did this come to be?
While I was in South Florida,
Okay.
I went back to, remember this is 07, 08.
Okay.
Economy's not doing so hot.
You're like sheets. Okay.
No, this is what happened. So it's 07, economy's hot, doing
Mm-hmm.
good. I go back, I went to, I lost it when I was working for the church. I went back up to Oregon for a very short time.
Mm-hmm.
I started cooking again as I was a chef. And then um I said I'm gonna go back to Florida because I really liked Florida before I joined the damn Church of Scientology. So I went back. I got hooked up with a couple of wealthy Scientologist people and started cooking for them
Mhm.
as a personal chef.
Okay.
Have maybe 4 or 5 clients, and they were all rich. And so I was making incredible money for the time. I mean, I was still only 18 years old. So this is 08. 07 to 08 is when all this went down. I was still only 18 years old. I have 4 or 5 clients, and I was charging them all like around $1,250 a week. So it's making like somewhere in the ballpark of $12,000 a month, something like that,
Wow.
which was, I never made that much money before. And then the 08 to crisis began to take place. So all these wealthy people that I have been working for, pretty much all within the span of 3 weeks, I lost all of their business because South Florida got hit really hard.
Yeah, I was here for that.
Yeah. So, um, these people were suddenly scared about spending a lot of extra money. So a lot of and a lot of these people were all in the same community together because they were all Scientologists pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And so like they all went into conserve their finances mode. And so I got the cut.
Mm-hmm.
So I was down to only one client. So I went from being like more money than I'd ever made to just barely getting by again.
Isn't that the way of the entrepreneur?
Yeah. And then absolutely seems
Make
to have
make
been
more money
happening.
than you can imagine, then it's just dead. And then you're like, how do I get back? It's the journey.
Feast or famine.
Yeah.
Uh, so I was like down to my last client, and then I got the call. I was sitting on my porch. My like half brother was smoking a cigarette, and then I got this call from my last client. Hey, I'm sorry, we're worried about the economy. We just can't we can't do this anymore. I was like, well, shit. You know, it's been 3 weeks. I lost everybody. My I looked at my brother. I was like, man, I don't know how I'm gonna make any money. And he's smoking a cigarette. Why don't you just sell rugs? And I was like, what? Dude, sell rugs, he said. He's actually my half brother's half brother. It's not really my brother, but he's a cool guy.
Okay.
But he said it as if selling rugs was the solution, like the obvious solution that everybody
Obviously.
knows that you do if you need to make money.
Rugs.
Dude, sell rugs. And I said, what are you talking about? He's like, don't you know how to sell rugs? And I'm like, uh, no. He said, hold on 1 second. I said, okay. He's still smoking a damn cigarette. He makes a call. He calls this guy. And he said, hey, my brother wants to sell rugs. And I'm like, yeah. And then he goes, here. And he hands me the phone. And I'm like, hey. He's like, hey, man, you want to sell rugs, I hear. And I said, yeah, man. I've never done that before, but I'd love to. He's like, cool. You want to go to Miami tomorrow? I was like, sure. Cool. Well, meet me here. So I drove up to this little warehouse. This dude loaded up this huge van. It's like a big cargo van.
Mm-hmm.
In the back of it must have had 150 rugs rolled up to the top. There's no more room. Couldn't fit one more rug in there. We're talking piles of these rugs. I was like, oh shit, that's a lot. And all these like metal racks in these tubes. So, well, fuck it, I must sell rugs now. So we drove down to Miami. We pull over at this gas station on the side of the road. We go talk to the owner of the gas station. Hey, we're gonna go set up our display in the parking lot here, sell rugs. Is it a busy intersection in South Florida, South Miami? You know, before you get into Hialeah to go towards Key West and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Set up all this display, this racks, these metal racks, clipped up all these rugs on there. And we had maybe 200 people pull into that parking lot talking to us about rugs. We sold like 33 rugs that day. Um, I sold maybe 12 or 14 of those, almost half,
Mm-hmm.
and made a good bit of little money there. So from then on, I was selling rugs on the side of the road.
Are these like turkey rugs? Like what
Yeah.
is the story with the rugs?
And we had like a Spider-Man rug for the kids, some for like 30, $40. We had like some had little cartoon characters and shit like that.
Uh-huh.
And then others, we had rugs that we could sell for like $1,200, $1,400 or $1,800, like really fine hand woven Turkish rugs,
Okay.
really, really fine quality. And then we had middle ground rugs, which had like prints and designs and um, it was just same kind of area rugs you go if you go to Home Depot, they have a big pile of them, just like that.
Okay.
Clip them up on these big racks. People pull into the parking lot. Hey, how much is that rug right there? Hey, come, I'll give you a good deal.
So you're like
You
a
know,
rug gypsy.
like a gypsy. I was a damn traveling gypsy for a year and a half.
Like
Can you believe
Aladdin
that?
over here. Come
Can you
come try
believe that?
my rugs.
I was a traveling gypsy. I went to almost every state in the United States selling rugs on the side of the road. I went up the entire East Coast from South Florida all the way to Connecticut,
Selling rugs.
selling rugs on the side of the road. Then one day, this dude calls me. He says, "Hey, man, you've been doing good at this selling rugs, man. You're a natural. There's not too many people out there better than you. But let me tell you about these sheets."
Okay. The
I
sheet
said,
saga.
I said, man, I'm doing good. I was just in Manhattan for a few months. And I was selling rugs like crazy in Long Island and Queens and shit. And I was selling a ton of them, making a lot. He goes, "Yeah, but dude, you don't know how much you can make selling these sheets."
Hustling. Hustling. Amazing.
He said, "I'll tell you what, come back to Miami, take your time. When you get here, I want you to try selling these sheets just for one day." I said, "Okay." So I was in Connecticut. I sold through the cities, and then a month and a half or 2 months later, I was back in Miami. I said, "What's up with these sheets?" He said, "Look, I'm gonna give you 4 boxes. Here you go. You sell for 20. These we sell for 30. So simple. You can do whatever you want. Some people have used these banners, but I don't know how you're gonna do it, but you can do it however you want." So I went online. I had this big banner made. It said, Egyptian comfort sheets, 400 thread count, $20. It was a big yellow banner with black text. And I got one of these little pop-up tents and I tied the ropes to the four corners of one of the tent and I just set that facing the busiest intersection I could find in Fort Lauderdale that would let me set up in their parking lot. Paid the guy like $50.
Have to ask, what was this guy's name? I feel like it was like an Antonio or something. What was this man's name?
Ellie.
Ellie. Ellie got the hookup. Okay.
Ellie's a Jewish guy. Yeah,
So he's a Jewish guy hustling sheets and rugs.
absolutely.
Industrious. Love it. Okay.
The best rug hustler you will ever meet.
Did he have like a New Jersey accent?
No, 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 no. He's like Israeli.
Oh, okay. Okay. Because I know a lot of South Florida, like I have family in South Florida that are like New Jersey Jewish people, and the accent is strong. So, okay. So Ellie doesn't have the coffee and bagel accent.
No, 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 no.
He's from Israel. Okay.
He's got a little bit of an Israeli accent.
Okay. All right.
Not, yeah, and his mom has a lot more of an Israeli. Like they're Israeli.
Got it.
But he has all these connections with these Jewish importers who do have those accents up in New Jersey. And they're getting these sheets in by like the container full, the tens of thousands of them. So they're buying a ridiculous volume and selling them for really cheap.
Wow.
He's making a couple dollars every time I sell a set. Every time I buy a pallet of sheets, he's charging me $2, $3 per set. Okay. So I ended up finding a gay bar at this intersection in Fort Lauderdale.
Amazing. Yes. Sounds like Fort Lauderdale. Okay.
Super busy gay bar, super busy intersection.
Mm-hmm.
And the gay bar people are really nice to me and say like, "Hey, you can order any food you want and you can have any drinks you want and you just got to pay us $50 for your spot out here per day." So okay, I'll try it. So I set up, sold 35 sets of sheets and the first day I only did it for 2 hours.
Wow.
And I was like, well, shit, man, the traffic here is really getting busier after it gets dark. So immediately I was thinking, I need to get a generator, more banners, and fucking lights, and then
Light it
light
up.
light this bitch up
Sheets after dark.
at
Okay.
night.
That's when people need them, right? So,
So I made like a couple $100, right? I went to Walmart. I bought another tent. I went online. I ordered three more banners. So I have four giant banners that you can see from all areas of the intersection. And then I had all these freaking bright halogen lights on the banners so that after it got dark, there was like, this is the spot. I also,
amazing.
on the generator, I had these like string lights set up around the tent. So it was like a cool little lighted up display. If you're at that intersection, there's no way you wouldn't see, holy shit, $20 sheets, you know?
And you're like, Bed Bath and Beyond, who? I came
Who?
to you.
Because
Okay.
sheets are expensive, be $100, $80, $60
Yeah.
bucks. So $20 is a good deal, even if they're not that great. So people would come in and buy 10, 15 sets at a time, or eight or five or two. And I was really good at selling them. So they would come in. When I watched other people sell these sheets, they would say, "Hey, do you want to buy some sheets?" And I said, "Oh, screw that. I know if they pulled in, they're going to buy some." So my first question was kind of disarming. What size are you looking for? I assume they're going to buy. So I was, hey, what size you like? It's a fast-paced environment. There's 10, 15 people there trying to get sheets from me. Hey, what size are you looking for? Queen? Okay, what colors do you like? We like blue and burgundy or chocolate brown. No problem. I'd grab three sets of those colors and just hand it to them. They give me $60.
Natural
I
salesman.
I ended up selling thousands of these sheets all across the country for a year and a half.
What was your business name?
There's no business name.
There was no name. It's just this is what it is.
Just selling sheets on the side of the road. So
Amazing.
then I wasn't the only one doing this, but I kind of like I was the first person to hit 60 in a day, the first person to hit 80 in a day, the first person to hit 100 in a day. At the peak, I was selling 250 a day sometimes. Just making several $1,000s a day selling these sheets on the side of the road. We're talking about pallets worth.
Yeah.
I was hustling these sheets all over the United States. We ended up traveling in like a gypsy caravan kind of way where we all had our cargo vans. Okay.
Uh,
And some people were selling sheets, some people were selling rugs, and some people were selling both. I was just the sheet guy after that because I was like, the hell with rugs. So I'm making 2,000 a day on these damn sheets. We'd make like a caravan and we would drive up the Gulf Coast of Florida. We'd stop at each little city, sell sheets for a day, and then move on. Then we'd all stay in the same like couple hotel rooms. We end up in Biloxi, Mississippi. We're all staying at the Beau Rivage Hotel and Casino. So we're also gambling, playing cards at night and slot machines and roulette and blackjack and stuff like that. And we're all really good at gambling. So we're going out there making 600 or 800 bucks a day selling sheets in Mississippi. And then we're going into hotel rooms, getting free stay at the hotel because we're all playing so much with our players' cards. So we're staying for free most nights. And then we're eating at the lavish buffets for free and in these really nice rooms. And then we're gambling and making more money. So that was my life for a few years.
okay. So this went on for a few years. And what did you transition into after being a sheets hustler gypsy? Is that when you got back into construction or you got into life coaching? Like, where's the timeline of this? Because you
Yeah.
were business coaching for a bit too.
Yeah, so I was after about almost 2 years, I got really tired of traveling. I drove 200,000 miles on a vehicle all over the Midwest and central United States and the East Coast, and been to almost every major US city selling sheets at abandoned gas stations, busy intersections. And I just got tired of traveling. I haven't had the same bed 2 nights and for more than a few days in a row for like years.
Yeah.
So I wanted to stay in a place. Anyways, I went up to Boston for a few months and I started cooking again, but then I wasn't making enough money. It was like I was making a lot selling sheets. And then my friend tells me about this job in Austin selling, doing phone sales. And I was like kind of wanting to move back to Austin because the East Coast is not very friendly. And Austin was at the time like the friendliest city in the world. So I moved back to Austin. I started working at this sales company and I did really well there.
Hmm.
After about a year and a half, me and my friend started our own online advertising company. And then I ended up selling that company. And then that's when I started construction. And I also have maybe three or four failed business ideas in there too.
So what didn't work? What were the failures?
Was the treasure hunting business.
Well, that's not really a failure because you're still kind of doing that.
Well, I'm still literally physically burying treasure in the Caribbean, but that's for personal
Yeah.
purposes.
Yeah, and around the islands of Austin, Texas.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. Yeah. It's not to say we didn't have some successes doing that.
Yeah. And then you dive, right? You dive in places and you find people's like lost jewelry and stuff.
Find
Yeah.
more than that. Find more than that.
Yeah. And then you're also interested in the world of rare pearls. It's pink pearls?
Peacock pearls. Yeah.
Or
I
pearl.
sell pearls online.
So that's a business. So the treasure business still has it just evolved. It shifted.
It appears to be that way.
Because you're like, oh, failed treasure hunting business. I'm like, but you're
No,
still
no, no.
doing
So the
that.
treasure hunting business was an app. People go on treasure hunts.
Oh, okay. So it's like a geocache, but more epic.
More epic with a real monetary value.
I love that idea. That you should bring that back.
It's it's yeah, it's a great idea, but it's a type of business that to be really successful, you need like a few $100 million worth of infrastructure to support it. Like it's
Mhm.
like I want it like to be really successful, it needs to be like on a DoorDash kind of level. Like we need to have like organized treasure hunts in every city kind of situation. And so it sounds really cool, but the infrastructure is very difficult.
I think that can still happen. Okay.
It can. It can.
I think that's just postponed. So the treasure hunting,
Yeah.
and then what were some of the other ones that just didn't?
Oh, I made an online store to sell mugs.
Hmm. Like drop shipping?
Yeah,
Okay.
that have really cool designs, like but a naughty theme. So I had a store called Naughty Santa, and they will like be like a Christmas mug, and then it'd be like Santa with three really, really attractive elves, and then it says ho ho hos.
So glad I asked this question. This is amazing. Okay.
Yeah, hold
Love
on one
that.
second. Well, I actually brought one of my mugs from that so you can see.
Okay, let's see it. Let's see it.
So,
Amazing.
see Santa,
Wow. Yeah.
really
Santa's
good
looking
looking.
ripped. Like, this is not like chubby Santa. This is like Santa's a
Yeah.
boss. Okay.
And girls super cute too. Santa's got some ho ho hos.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, so that business failed. It didn't do well. I didn't sell very many.
Could have sold to Spencer's. Like Spencer should have like supported that. Anyways.
Yeah, I mean the way that I look at it, come up with the design. I like the bootstrapping methodology. You know, if there's a market for it, don't spend a huge amount of money and resources unless you're really sure that it's going to work. Start with the most basic way that the idea can come to fruition and get some sales. And then once you're getting sales, figure out the rest. Like,
Yeah.
so that's the way that I've built almost all my businesses. It's like the market, if your business is a good idea and it's going to work, the market will show you that. If it's not working, realize that your idea may not be as good as you thought. I thought that I would sell thousands of these, and I only sold a few. So I didn't sell thousands of these the way that I thought. So that was the end of the road for that business. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't let your ego commit you too much to the success of something that's not going to really work out.
Yeah. If the door's not open.
With the treasure hunting business, I really tried hard to get that business off the ground for 2 years, but it just didn't work.
Mm,
So that's why I say fail hard and fail fast. Yeah. If you start a new business, you immediately get some traction. You might have a winner, you know what I mean? But a couple of months and nothing's really changed or happened. It's not, doesn't seem viable, or the business can support itself and you a little bit, but beyond that, it's not expandable. There's a
yeah.
lot of those out there. If that's what you enjoy doing and you're able to pay your bills, totally fine. But don't expect you're going to get rich off of that business.
Yeah.
So part
Mm,
of part of business for me and my success that I have had, because I've failed hundreds of ways, you know, is I've failed 20 times more than I've succeeded. But every time I fail, I learn. And then every time I learn, I get smarter and better and faster. And then when I find something that works well, I'm able to put a lot of resources on it, grow it really quickly, and either sell it as a business or make a lot of money from it.
yeah. Yeah. You have to fail to learn. You have to see what, and you, like you're saying, not to invest all your money into something that you're like, clearly this isn't taking off yet. So you're left with all of this extra inventory. Yeah. Been there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like this. The mug business cost me close to zero.
Okay.
I think I may have spent $225 on it. But I learned a tremendous amount. And what is cool about it is I still have the ability to design virtually any product and bring it to mass market. I know how to do that,
Hmm.
which is really cool. I mean, you couldn't even do that easily for that low of a cost 5 years ago.
Yeah. It's evolved.
Like like to get an image like this, you know, I designed this using AI, maybe 5 minutes.
So that was designed using AI.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Like the what like the what do you call it? Mid journey?
I use Midjourney a lot. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Interesting. So that's a recent venture.
Yeah, this was last December.
Okay. So this wasn't that long ago.
Hmm.
Okay, so then you left the sheet business, the
Yeah.
Gypsy sheets selling. business,
Started selling online advertising.
and then you got had a call. It's interesting how like these people come into your life and they like are the ones that connected you to these jobs. You didn't go out looking for them. Your half brother, not half brother, was like, "Yeah, go sell some rugs," and then you go sell some rugs. Next thing you know, 2 years of your life is selling rugs and sheets.
Yeah,
And and then you get a call from a friend like, "Hey, come do this job in Austin," and then that leads you there. So you don't look for these things; they come to you.
they have. Yeah.
And that's pretty cool. I feel like that's a theme for people listening, that it's the ones that come to you that those are like most likely the right avenue. You don't like that's I don't know, it's like almost like divine intervention in a way. When you force things and you push things and you're like, "Oh, I'm gonna go look and doom scroll Indeed or something for my future job or whatever it is." Like that's not always the solution. Sometimes it's like a friend being like, "Hey, can you help me with this?" And like one thing leads you to the next.
Or like, hey, you want to go play some cards over here at this card house? And then next thing you know, a year later, you see the guy on the World Series of Poker.
Nice. Yeah. You don't know where it's gonna take you. And so it's just about taking those opportunities, right? Um, okay. And then where in this timeline did you start doing the life coaching, the
And that
business coaching?
was, yeah, that was like around the same time that I was like trying to do the treasure hunting business.
Okay. Yeah. Because I just
Yeah.
remember you business coaching me back in the day, and I'd be like, "I don't know what I'm gonna do. What do I do?" And you're like, "Look at your computer, figure it out." And I'm like, "Okay, I guess I like the idea of coaching." And so that was, yeah, you got me into the life coaching. So that was your connection for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, people would
Sometimes,
fly you out to places.
mhm.
I think that's so cool.
Also businesses too.
Yeah, because
I've
people hire
I've
you for business
consulted,
coaching.
oh, and it's something I still do is business consulting. So I've actually been paid quite a lot over the last 3, 4 years in business and branding consulting. I still do that.
Nice.
Yeah. A lot of times it starts as I used to give a lot of free advice. I give almost zero free advice now, because it's important that people have a pay price to action. If I give free advice, goes in one ear out the other. And to me, I wasted my time, and it's sad that somebody won't even utilize my advice because it didn't cost them anything. When
Yeah.
there's an action of somebody it costing them something, they pay more attention to what I'm saying. So it's not like I'm in any shortage of money now, but when I charge $500 an hour for my time, people really listen to what I'm saying. What's heartbreaking is if somebody asks me advice, this has happened many times. Somebody asks me advice and then I give it to them. They don't use it because it didn't cost them anything, and then they still suffer or fail when the advice could have solved the problem. So now, if somebody asks me business advice, I say, um, yeah, I'd be happy to give you uh, 15 minutes for free, but I need at least $1,000 retainer for 2 hours of the time. 99% of the people say no. Well, sounds like you wanted to free business consulting. So that's on you. You know, you're gonna come ask a guy who has 20 years of business experience. You think Warren Buffett would give you hours of his time for free? No. Do you think there's people out there who'd pay $50,000 an hour for Buffett to give them some advice? Absolutely. So I just charge $500 an hour now. And some people say, that's great. And can I give, 10 hours from you? Sure. And I'll coach them.
Very cool.
Um, what's more recently, I've done a lot of like branding consulting.
I like branding. That's my jam too. I like helping people with branding. What is your story? Why does it matter? Why do you care? Why
Yeah.
do other people care? Yeah.
And then like people don't know where to begin. Like if you're gonna have like a like making really good quality content that ties into your brand, a lot of people have no idea where they would even start. It's like, well, you need a video guy. You need a, so I can help design their branding systems.
Yeah. Because you definitely need systems for that. There's a lot involved.
Yeah, and if you're a business that's already doing, let's say, $5 million a year, I mean, that's extremely valuable. They're going to get a lot of value for that $500.
Yeah.
Which could equal tens of millions of more sales.
All things business. I
If they're
remember,
not, if they're not willing to pay, mum's
yeah,
the word.
I
And
remember some,
also it's a great separator too.
what
Like
is?
freeloaders,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
like in business, freeloaders will absorb a lot of your time.
There's a lot of those people out there. They have no
Yeah.
intention of giving back. They're just like, what can you give me?
Yep.
Yeah. Um, I remember when you told me, you're like, you need to just do, what was it? You wanted me to just do cold calls. I was like, how do I build my coaching business? What do I do? You're like, just call. Just call up random businesses and just offer. I was like, no way. I actually did it though. And I was so nervous. I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. You're like, doesn't matter. Just fail. Just keep failing.
That's right.
It's fine. I'm like, I feel so out of my element. And you're like, doesn't matter.
No, doesn't matter.
And I did have one person call me back. And I was like, I was terrified though, because I was not in a position to hold the space for that.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, I'm interested. How do we get started? You're like, I don't know.
I have no idea. I didn't get that far. I didn't get that far.
I
Uh,
didn't think this would work.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
Um,
it does work though.
yeah, I was like, I am not qualified for this right now, but it was
I
a fun
have I
exercise.
have made millions of dollars cold calling.
Yeah. You got to do it in a certain way. You can't just be like, "Where's your manager?" Everyone just hang up on you. No, absolutely not. Please
Got to get
stop.
past those gatekeepers.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, I digress. So, is there um any other aspects you feel you want to share in regards to your business and personal journey?
Yeah, two words of wisdom.
Yeah, for somebody out there who's going through it and needs some advice.
Yeah, well, number one, if you do decide to cold call random business owners like Sarah and I suggested, the way that you get past the gatekeepers is this. And I'm gonna give you some free advice here. He's ring ring, you know, hey, this is so and such. How can I help you? Yeah, I'm looking for John. Uh, okay. May I ask who's calling? Yeah, just tell him it's Sarah. Okay. Hold on. Guy goes and talks to boss. Hey, Sarah's on the phone for you. Sometimes boss says, put her on. Or maybe he knows somebody named Sarah. Is it Sarah? Why would she be calling me? Put her on the phone. Hey, this is John. Hi, John. My name is Sarah Beer. I'm a life coach, and I understand that you have a business and you guys have been doing really well. I just wanted to let you know. And then you go right into, so now you've gotten past the gatekeeper. Now at that point, he's gonna listen. If he's interested, he's gonna talk to you, and if not, he's gonna hang up on your face, and that's both okay.
That is good advice. Thank you for that.
Yep. Okay, and then it's just a numbers game. All right, number two. The best advice that I can possibly give somebody, and I don't often give advice without people paying me. The best possible advice I can give somebody as individualized advice is trust your instincts, trust your gut feeling. If it feels right, it's gonna feel good. If it feels wrong, you're gonna feel almost sick. Trust your instincts and let your connection to the universe guide you. We all have a natural ability to know and feel the right direction for our lives. It's when we don't trust that, in my experience, is when we experience the most hardship. Now, life is always going to teach you lessons, and some of those lessons are beautiful, and some of them are ugly, and some of them are uncomfortable. But if you trust your instincts, the universe and life will teach you the right things at the right time, and you have everything within reach that you need to succeed in whatever it is that you want to do. Whether that's you want to be a mom or a welder, or you want to ride a rocket into space, or you you want to learn more about engines. There is more opportunity now than in the history of the world. And you should be so grateful to be a part of this extraordinary opportunity. And don't let anyone tell you that you're not capable of doing something. If you know that you're capable of doing something, then do it for you. Don't worry about what anybody thinks about it.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. Um, that's some powerful stuff. I gotta like sit and digest that. And I have one other question in mind because obviously
Mhm.
you've been through a lot, and I'm sure you've been through spaces and time when what I would like to call the void space, where you're like in this weird in between limbo, and you're like, I don't know where my life is going. What is your advice for somebody in that space to like help motivate them either to get out of it or relax into it? Like, what do you do when you're in that space? As my cat's
Um,
outside the door. Okay.
yeah, usually I lay down and I close my eyes and I turn off my phone and I turn off all like media, like I'm not listening to any music or anything like that. And I just ask myself honestly, what do I want? And in the last 4 or 5 years, I've been really clear about what I want. I know, like, I'm always visualizing this future, the what I want, and I've been very clear on what that is. And so everything I'm doing is just working towards that. And that keeps me extremely motivated. In fact, I almost went to work today. It's Sunday. I almost went to work today just because I had a thought like, oh, I need to go do this so I can get there, you know. Um, yeah. So I think just having really clear understanding of what it is that makes you happy and what it is that will really make you feel whole. For me, I see a future of design in wind energy. So I need at least several $1 billion to build oceanic wind turbine farms to power coastal cities. Uh, for other people, they may need want to become a car engine mechanic. Maybe they need to go to trade school. or go work for a mechanic and start learning. So, hey, I'll clean shit up for you and you just tell me what to do, but every once in a while just show me what you're doing. Uh before any of that can happen, number one, you have to have a really clear idea of what it is that makes you happy and what you want. So that's a question that people will have to decide for themselves. But you can't know that unless you honestly ask yourself and give yourself space and time to actually think about that. Like, when
Yeah.
have I been the happiest? For me, like the happiest times of my life is when I'm like spearfishing. So a life that um lets me be super close to a coral reef where I can fish every day, uh, and catch all my own food. Like, I'm really happy if I'm doing spearfishing every day. Like,
Nice.
there's never been a day that I went spearfishing where I was like, today sucked. So I've been clear on that. I know a lot of people aren't, and it's okay if you're not, but try to get a really clear idea. And then after that, don't doubt it. Know that you're worth it. And then after that, what are the steps to do it? And then last but not least, you have to actually take those steps because trade school isn't going to enroll itself, you know, or, for me, I wanted to learn about how consciousness, neural networks, and neurons work in the human brain. I had to take the step and find, you know, the online Harvard class, and then I had to do the homework, and I had to study, and I had to read, and it was so hard. It was so worth it. So believe in yourself. You have the ability to do what you want.
Believing in self, and you have to know what you want. Most people, I feel like they don't know what they want because they don't really know themselves, right? So that's a whole other journey unto itself. Um,
It's a
but
good place to start.
what do you want? What do you want outside the conditions of what people told you to want and society
Yeah,
told you to want and what you're not allowed to want? I kind of feel like in some instances you're told like, oh, well, this is impossible. And like the people telling you it's impossible are people who they believe it's impossible for them. And then it is
we
for them, but doesn't
we
mean it's
put a lot
impossible for
of
you.
we put a lot of pressure on ourselves from the outside perspectives.
Yeah. How do you release that pressure?
Well, a lot of people I meet are morons. So so I stopped caring a long time ago.
Yeah.
I mean, the other thing is I've had some really intense psychedelic trips about the value of time. There was a trip that I had one time that was so terrifying because I realized the connection between monetary value and time. That for me, the monetary value of even 1 second is almost limitless. Like, if you control a significant amount of the world's wealth, for instance, let's say you're Jeff Bezos and you have $200 billion. I'm sure he would gladly give 150 billion of those dollars just to knowing for sure that he could extend his life by 25 years. Like, I'm sure he would do that without thinking about it.
Or has
Like
already
if
done that.
you like if you know for a fact you can live to be 150, um, there's no value that I wouldn't pay for that if I had the means to do so.
Yeah.
So I realize that the value of every second is extreme. And I also, whatever this is right here, right now, us being here in these bodies and communicating, whatever this is, I know once I die, whatever it is going to change. And so to me, it is such a great gift to be alive at all. And so, um, that's where I'm at on it. It's like that time is given to me as a great gift, and I do not care whatsoever what other people think about how I'm spending my time. Number one, mostly because for the most part, I don't respect their opinion necessarily in the first place. And for those opinions that I do respect, most of them value time extremely well. Almost all the people that I look up to value their time like extraordinarily.
You have to.
Yeah. And look, like once that time is gone, you can't get it back. So worrying about things that have yet to happen or worrying about things that happened and also worrying about how people view you or other people's opinions or how society says you're supposed to be or anything like that, it's not really up to them. It's up to you. How do you want to spend this great gift of time that you've been given? What do you want and what really makes you happy? If picking flowers makes you happy, then you should be doing that as much as you can. If studying snails makes you happy and you're a biologist or the anatomy of oceanic creatures or um, satellites or designing rocket engines or doing math or being a mom or ironing or being a tailor or whatever it is that makes you happy and that you want, then you should do that.
That's beautiful.
Mm.
Love that. Awesome. Well, on that note, I think I think we can close out here. Any final words before we go?
I think that sums it up.
I think you shared a lot. So, thank you so much for taking the time to be here today. We had a two-part episode going on because there was so much awesome stuff to share.
Yeah.
Um, and thank you to everybody watching and listening. So excited to be here and to start this journey. Um, yeah, and I hope that everybody has a great rest of their day wherever they're listening or watching to this, and look forward to seeing you guys in the next one.
If anybody wants to link up with me, just find me on LinkedIn.